Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement. Discover time-tested strategies and get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, back on Personal Pension Radio. Yes, I am the income engineer. That's my cue to jump right in and press the correct corresponding button on my podcast software. This is a short stuff episode, so I'm going to get right to it. Just the usual short disclosure before the long disclosure that I have to do at the end. I am not an attorney. I am not a certified public accountant. Those accountants who are listening, and I do have quite a few CPAs who listen to the show, hang on for the ride. It's tax planning season. I feel your pain. We do a lot of tax planning, year-end income planning for clients at our firm as well. Now is the time to be doing charitable gift planning, setting up foundations, charitable remainder trusts, looking at various different income planning strategies to mitigate taxes. So for CPAs out there, hang on for the ride. There is no break anymore for CPAs nowadays. But to continue, I am a certified financial planner professional. All that being said, please don't act on advice that you hear from me or things that you hear from me as if you're hearing advice for you personally. Especially, please don't act on advice from financial entertainers, people who have no business giving out financial advice. They have no regulatory oversight. That's a financial entertainer. You'll hear me talk about one of them, two of them here in the Short Stuff show today. Please meet with a qualified financial planner to go over your specific situation before you actually do anything with financial things that you've heard. Now, a quick shout out to listener Yvette and Matt. It's been great chatting with them and with you. I'll talk directly to you because you're probably listening. It's been great chatting with you about retirement. Rather than launch into a retirement income planning direction at this point, I recommended that they work with another professional to settle some real estate heartburn that they've been dealing with. Once that is taken care of, they will be much more ready and set to start building an awesome retirement income plan. And a little P.S., I love Yvette's comment that the last conversation we had about friends who had mentioned Dave Ramsey's advice. Let's just say that Yvette and Matt are wise to the incomplete advice from Big Dave. Now, jumping right in, I didn't want to miss it. Short stuff segment on a question I get all the time. I get lots and lots of questions on this. Where should we retire? The best places to retire from an income design perspective. That's how I approach it. Now, one of the most common articles, one of the most common financial blog posts I see is where to retire. How many times have I picked up Money Magazine or Market Watch or Forbes or USA Today or Dave Ramsey? It's always out there. It is like the most common hook for search engine optimization is come up with a new article about the best places to retire. And they talk about the various tax base and average income and various things about different cities, and no list is ever the same. It's crazy. How do you ever choose the best place to retire when the list is never the same? So what I want to do is I want to cover this today from the income engineer's perspective, from a retirement income design perspective. Now, articles everywhere. And sure enough, as I was researching this, I just wanted to experiment and I typed in best places to retire. Now, to their credit, Dave Ramsey and his marketing machine is amazing when it comes to search engine optimization, because the first article that popped up in my Google search that caught my eye was an article that was written by Chris Hogan. Now, Chris Hogan is what I would call a lottery winner, in that he is now put out there on the Dave Ramsey personality stage as a financial expert. Well, just a quick update, just so you understand. Let me set the stage. I can't help myself. A brief bio of Chris Hogan's financial credentials, his gravitas as a financial expert. Well, he started his career as a bill collector, a debt collector. Yes. And then after several years of that, he moved into banking. Now, back in the 1950s and maybe into the 60s, being a personal banker really meant something. That meant you were in a real serious position of authority. You know, you were a banker, right? I mean, a banker was very different for men and women back, many, many years ago. But today, being a banker means that's the job you could get. And being a banker is nothing in the financial world as far as any significant financial planning, any kind of requirements. Virtually anybody can be a banker, okay? You may not be able to be a bank manager, but you can be a banker. Now, fast forward through some luck and nudging from his wife, according to his bio, he met Dave Ramsey at a silent auction. So this is why I call this guy's like the lottery winner, right? He hit it off with Dave Ramsey, started working with Dave Ramsey, and one thing led to another, and now he is a frontline financial expert personality on the Ramsey network. So this is Chris Hogan, right? And I say this as sort of a little touchback to my Watch Your Step segment. You get folks out there who claim to be financial experts. Well, what's his background? He was a bill collector and a banker for a while, and then he got lucky and he met Dave Ramsey, and Dave Ramsey's team set him up. And man, he is now a financial expert speaking to thousands of people all around the country. Folks, meet with a certified financial planner, someone who's actually taken the test, someone who's actually worked hard, someone who might actually have a degree in financial services that's put in the years. Someone like, me, 21 years, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant, investment advisor representative, paralegal. I've been there. I've done that. I've seen it. I am, if you look at the definition, I suppose, a legitimate financial expert. I'm not a financial entertainer. Now, moving on, though, as I rant a bit, I went through a few of these Google searched best places to retire. And in the Chris Hogan best places to retire, they were mentioning things like Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh. And my thoughts, whoa, let me come back to that in a minute, right? Here's the thing. Remember what I said about the list. The lists are always different. Even ones put out by USA Today or US News. For example, US News has published hundreds of these kind of articles, and the latest one said Buckeye, Arizona, New Braunfels, Texas, Apex, North Carolina, Georgetown, Texas. All right, let's see who else. One reference, by the way, in the 5 that I checked, one reference to any place in California. I live in California. We've seen South Jordan, Utah, Castle Rock, Colorado, Senior Living Magazine. Now remember, US News said that Buckeye, Arizona was the best place to retire. Now, Senior Living Magazine said Birmingham, Alabama. Right? Birmingham, Alabama. Chris Hogan's article said Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Wow. Market Watch published an article recently about retiring out of country. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, remember I said thinking of where to retire should be done from a retirement income perspective. That's my suggestion, that when you consider where to settle down for your forever home, that's a very, very important thing to remember. Your forever home, where you will end your days on earth. You've got to think about it from, first, a retirement income perspective. And retirement income is not always about how much you make, how much interest or dividends or this or that you make. It's about how much you get to keep. How much do you get to keep? How much does the state or city that you live in nibble away at your retirement income. That's the key that you've got to pay attention to. So, when I looked at the list from Chris Hogan that included Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh, my thought was not, oh, those are horrible places to live. Not at all. Lancaster, PA, Pittsburgh, the various places like that, Colorado, I'm sure they are gorgeous, beautiful places to live. But can you live there when you're 80? And in Pittsburgh, I don't think the winters are balmy and warm, right? That's not necessarily a place that you might want to be in the winter. Now, from a financial perspective, you notice, remember back a second ago, I said there was only one on the 4 lists that I looked at, 5 lists. There was only one that included California, Dublin, California, up in the Bay Area. You know why? I'm going to say it. The taxes, the fees, the various miscellaneous BS from the government, municipalities, and the state of California, they seem to be on this mission to never let any other state be the highest taxed state in the country. California is hands down the leader when it comes to taxes and miscellaneous junk fees that are laden all over everything. So what I want you to remember first is think about retirement income. How much money of your retirement income cash flow will you be able to keep? And I'm telling you, in California, you will keep less because the price of gas is the highest in the country. The price of electricity, highest in the country. The income tax, highest in the country. Sales tax in Dublin, California, I can't even imagine. Highest in the area, I'm sure, right? My point is, every little nibble at your retirement income apple affects your lifestyle. So retirement income net should be a key place. So you look at places like Buckeye, Arizona. I'm sure a very affordable place to be. Georgetown, Texas. Aside from real estate taxes, the income tax and the price of gas and lifestyle and living and electricity, it's all pretty nice. St. Cloud, Florida, same thing. Comfortable weather, if you like humidity. South Jordan, Utah. Not great overall income tax, but good, decent weather, not horrible, right? So when you look at places like Birmingham, Alabama, yeah, that's pretty nice weather, comfortable. Detroit, Michigan, nothing at all against Detroit, but Michigan can have some pretty gnarly weather. Really, think about this, folks. Remember what I said? You're forever home, right? When you retire, how many times do you want to move again? So when you retire, if you choose to retire at a traditional timeline, let's say 65 or 66 years old, and you move to your retirement destination and you're settled in and you're retired. Well, if you retired in Detroit, Michigan, and you're in your 60s and your knees and your hips and your arthritis is all under control and working perfectly, that could work. Detroit has all kinds of access to that part of the world and just beauty and travel and everything. It's great. But come 80 years old, when your arthritis really flares up during the rain or when it gets icy and you're worried about falling down and breaking your hip, can you really retire and live out your days in Detroit? You can. Is it easy? Maybe not. Maybe not as easy as living in, let's say, Florida or living in Tennessee, places like that. So keep that in mind as well. But taxes and fees and the price of gas and the price of restaurants. And, you know, we talk about this in California a lot. We'll have things like the minimum wage. We've got to take care of the workers and give them a living wage. Well, here's the thing. That affects retirees deeply because businesses pass on the cost of everything to their customers. That's the way it works. So if you're retired and you and your spouse enjoy going out for dinner and you live in a place that has a very high minimum wage, the price of your meal is going to be considerably higher. It's not going to be as affordable to go out and enjoy yourself, whether it's going to the movies, whether it's going out to eat, whether it's going to see a show. Minimum wage in your state is a big deal, right? So there's a lot to consider, but once again, as a recap, I suggest you start with retirement income planning perspective, how much you get to keep, how much is going to be nibbled away at your monthly budget when it comes to taxes and fees and the cost of everything that it takes to live wherever it is that you might choose to live. Now, I have a few things that I wrote down that I share with my clients and friends and anybody that might listen when it comes to retirement planning, retirement income planning, especially the destination. Now, this is important as well for me and my wife. I think about this stuff all the time. Now, the items that I put here are just a few of the thoughts that I would suggest that you keep in mind as you start thinking about that long-term, hey, where do we settle down? Number one thing that I suggest you consider taxes. Consider the cost of gasoline for your car, the cost of heating oil for your house if you live in a cold environment. Are you an outdoorsy type of person or a couple? Do you actually really want to be outdoors? Are you going to be the type that wants to live in the snow and go cross-country skiing in the winter and kayaking in the summer, and you're really going to utilize, but really enjoy the benefits of a very outdoorsy, four-season type of an environment? Will you be outdoorsy when you're 70, 80, or 90? And that leads back to, should you buy your forever home in the place that somewhere along the time in retirement, you're going to need to sell it anyway because it's too cold or you can't walk around as much anymore. You can't enjoy the outdoors, right? That's why I suggest that your forever home in retirement might be secondary to renting for a while. I tell clients all the time, hey, consider renting before you jump into buying a house. Question that I put out to you just flat out. Do you like the cold? Right? You heard me talk about Lancaster, Pennsylvania and Detroit and various places like that were on these lists. I think that's sometimes kind of crazy. Some people like the cold today, but really try and think about yourself at 80 years old. Are you really going to like the cold at 80? Do you like humidity? Do you like humidity? Florida, Hawaii, the humidity. The South, the North Carolina, South Carolina areas, depending on the time of year, man, the humidity can just be oppressive. Will you enjoy taking care of a big yard? I have people ask me all the time, and I've heard it many times. Oh, we're getting our big house. It's our forever house. You're on 5 acres. Really? Are you going to take care of 5 acres when you're 90? That could be a very expensive place to be. Could also be quite risky. How do you feel about mosquitoes? Mosquitoes and chiggers. All my folks in Texas, how do you like them little chiggers? Man, those things, you can't stop them. They're biting you all the time. I come from Maine, where the mosquito is the state bird. I swear, they're huge. They're everywhere. Think about things like this when you come to choosing a retirement destination. Do you enjoy paying high taxes and government fees? Right? If you do, New York and California are waiting for you. Connecticut, they're waiting for you, right? If you enjoy paying high taxes, and government fees, jump right into the great state of California. We got you covered. Will you want to travel, right? If you're really all about wanting to travel, maybe in your early years of retirement, you want to rent a place just as a home base and then just go travel the world while your hips and your knees still work, right? Will you want to be close to doctors? I have a good friend who says that he's living in his forever home, but he's 2 hours away from the closest Walmart store, which means that he's 2 hours away from a major city hub. A major city hub is kind of that pinpoint that you could put on a map wherever there's a Walmart store. That's pretty major when it comes to a city hub. He lives 2 hours away from the nearest Walmart store, right? 90% of America lives within 10 minutes of a Walmart store. He lives 2 hours. He definitely has his doctors still in his area, but if he needed something major, it's 2 hours away. Will you want to be close to your doctors? Most people say yes. And the big one that I see is missed all the time in every one of these articles that I read. Where do your grandkids live? Where are your children? Where did your kids end up in the world? Right? That's the key. Where did your kids end up? So many of these articles are all about just, well, the taxes and the median gross income of such and such a place in South Carolina is, well, you know what? Grandkids, where are the grandkids? Where's family? How is that going to play into your decision, right? That's a big one for me. I'd like to know where my daughter ends up someday. She's 22 this year. She's not married. She's no kids. All is good. She hasn't been arrested. Everything's good. College is almost done. Where will she end up? I know it's not in California, but that's a big consideration for where my wife and I settle down, is so that we know how would we be able to get, back and forth and comfortably to be able to still visit and enjoy where we live and still be able to travel and visit potentially grandkids in the future. So that's my take on the best places to retire. It's really up in the air, and it depends on you. And the only way to truly sort that out is to sit down with a certified financial planner, someone who might specialize in retirement planning and retirement income planning. I would love that person to be me. I'm Kraig Strom. I'm the income engineer. You can reach me at my email address, which is craig@kraigstrom.com. Kraig, Kraig, at kraigstrom, STROM.com. Email me at that address with questions, suggestions, anything, opinions, observations, suggestions. I always appreciate the feedback, and I'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. We took notes for you, so if you missed any part of the show, you can find a full transcript of each episode at personalpensionradio.com. Be sure to download your free retirement income crisis report at personalpensionradio.com. While you're at it, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.